Hello, everyone. Well, thanks for your attention here. And what I'm going to be presenting here is the work of an undergrad student, is his undergrad thesis. He's a mobile developer, and he chose to talk about mobile accessibility guidelines adoption under the perspective of developers and designers. So our context here is about people with disabilities, so different types of disabilities: visual, hearing, motor, cognitive. And when develop software, we typically don't see these people, so they're invisible when you're developing. That they don't have features thought for them. And well, we believe that apps have to be inclusive and consider these people with their disabilities so they can use software. And we wanted to ask mobile developers the awareness of accessibility guidelines that exist, and how does awareness differ from UI designers. So who is more aware of these guidelines? And there are web accessibility guidelines and mobile accessibility guidelines inspired on those web accessibility guidelines by W3C. And we summarized 7 guidelines about different aspects for UI. And our population here that we targeted was Brazilian mobile developers from different regions from the country. And we collected responses from in the survey with 30 designers, 75 developers. We did also interviews with 3 designers and 3 developers experienced in the mobile development. So, well, quickly on these results, I'm not going to go through every result here, but if you see the green lines, that there's well, the horizontal green lines about awareness on the left side. So designers, they're much more aware of these guidelines. And in terms of requirements for the projects in the as mandatory, you see the blue lines on the right side. Designers also, they see it as more well, mandatory, more priority than developers, although developers, they reported on interviews the importance of that. And in the coding process, we got different themes, different categories that came out. And the interesting thing is that some of the obstacles is about the different aspects that motivate the stakeholders. So those who pay for the software, they don't care about accessibility. So they leave it aside because it's more time and more there's more price on that. And there are possible paths for like training and more awareness about the topic. And the most important one, and this is nice with this type of presentation, I can point out to the thing. So empathy is a more important aspect that was not, how can I say, as strong for developers as it was for designers. So some of the conclusions that the designers, they're much more aware of these guidelines than in-house, have more experience than developers. UI designers and developers, both of them, they see as a priority, while the stakeholders, they don't see it as something important. And developers need more training and to develop more empathy about their users. So thank you. Thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you, Kiev. Thank you so much. Great presentation, great work. We have a lot to discuss, but let's move to our second poster. So, but we don't have the authors here, right? So we're gonna have the video. I don't have the...
would you like me to play the video?
Do you mind? Oh,
sure.
Please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let's hope this works. Okay, do people see this?
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Hello, everyone. My name is Luis Fernando Capres, and I will present some results about the perception of software testing among United Arab Emirates software students. I did this study when I was a visiting professor at New York University in Abu Dhabi, together with my colleagues Ali Nasif from the University of Sharjah and Saad Aros from United Arab Emirates University. The main reason we did this is that, you know, everybody likes software of good quality, but not many people like to test software, and test contributes to improve the quality of the software. So what we did, we want to understand why some students don't like to do software testing. And that has an impact when they start a career, and they will probably not choose testing as a software career. So we We asked these questions to 132 students at University of New York in Abu Dhabi, University of Sharjah, and the United Arab Emirates in Al Ain. The first question was, if they consider a career in software testing, and the second question was an open-end question, questions about pros and cons of software testing. And these are the numbers that we received, and you can see that some people are very adamant they will not consider software testing as a career. As students, we know that they want to be project managers and designers or programming, and not many of them would consider testing as a career. And the pros that we found the most relevant are, they consider software testing as an important job, as a learning opportunity, and they see some monetary benefits on it because of job prospects. And on the other hand, the cons, they feel they are treated as a second-class citizen. The career development is very limited, and there is no monetary benefits, besides being tedious, less creative, and not challenging activity. So in the end, we studied the dimension of software testing among software students, and we conclude that testing remains unattractive. The salient pros are learning opportunities and the importance of the job, and the cons are second-class citizens and very career limited. This is a message for project managers to address the issues and to motivate software testers. Thank you.
So it was a very interesting poster. It's a pity that he is not here, but it is a very interesting topic. So now I think we have time for just Kiev. So I don't know if we need to use the breakout rooms, or maybe we know. What do you prefer, Ashna? What do you prefer?
I think it makes sense to stay everybody here, and Kiev can have lots and lots of questions.
I hope I can answer, because there's this policy from the university not paying things for undergrad students, and this undergrad, he just graduated, so he's got his diploma, and it was really interesting because he changed the way that the company where he works, they changed the way they see accessibility. It's really interesting, and they convince a high profile customer to consider creating accessible mobile applications. So it's really, really cool work with impact. There was not a space on the paper for that, because it would be considered as anecdotal evidence, but that's really nice. It has impact on the industry already.
But I do have a question from one professor to another.
Oh, cool.
Just because I love the paper, just because it was software engineering and human-computer interaction, my two areas, so it was perfect for me. But I couldn't believe that the people answered that they didn't saw the topic in university, in a course. So it was, how? Because accessibility is one of the most basic topics in any human-computer interaction course. So now makes me think that maybe we need to teach in a different way, maybe in programming classes, I don't know, maybe in hackathons. So now it's the question for the programming guy, okay? How do you think that we can teach accessibility in a better way? Just because they can really understand, they can really learn and use.
I think software engineering classes can take that as a non-functional requirement, important, because well, one of the things my student was saying is that many people say that accessibility is a feature, but it should be a non-functional regard as security and as performance and stuff like that. So it has to be a cross-cutting concern in many of the UI parts of the system that is going to be designed. So it's a quality aspect that has to be treated, and we usually don't use that as an example, or it's usually as a shallow example, and we go much more on security, on modularity, and all these aspects which are more tangible for software developers, because accessibility is much from people from UX and UI, right? So maybe we as programmers are not familiar with that topic, and then we need to get more acquainted with that. So that's one of the recommendations on the interviews is like getting on training, specific training on accessibility. And those developers and designers that were interviewed, they work with accessible applications. And when they started, they didn't know much, and they said that they got to know a lot because of the focus training on that topic.
I was thinking about hackathons with accessibility requirements. Like you said, no functional requirements would be great to mix things up.
Yeah,
and now
it makes a lot of sense.
And now one more qualitative question, just to explore your 4 teams. I loved them, but do you have any more core categories or codes from these 4 teams?
Those were the 4 teams that came out, and the interesting things that one word that didn't know about alterity, and my student didn't know either. And one of in Portuguese they use the same word. It's alteridade. It's translated into English as alterity, and it's closer to empathy. It's like being on someone else's shoes and being aware of the differences that you have. And these were the main. This shared concepts was sort of a wild card that fits everything that repeated. It was repeated in many of the interviews, and it's like having universal applications, accessible applications as like a shared concept. But these were the 4 categories that he came up with. I just validated those, and that one was sort of an umbrella. The first one, the shared concepts. But it was limited to those on the analysis. Okay, so Gustavo, he's got a question here on the chat. Can I read out this one?
Yeah, I can ask you here. Actually, I was rephrasing the question. So, what are the categories or accessibility attributes that are unique for mobile development that you don't usually see in other kinds of software development?
For mobile development, there is there are these I forgot the general name, but there's talkback and voiceover. Those things that like auxiliary software that comes in the iOS and Android, that they read out the screens for you, both each of the fields and all of the information that has to be presented like metadata, like hints, and it has to be read. So this is one of the things that mobile applications you have to be aware of when you're developing. It's how are you going to give the hints, the adequate hints, and even software testing tools, they take advantage of that for doing UI tests. So it's good. This is a weird thing, but you can convince developers to, you have to put this information for accessibility on the UI because it's going to help you for testing the UI. So it's not the main purpose, right? So you would say it's good for accessibility, for being accessible for the visually impaired. So, but you convince them by using this argument for testing. And there's also other aspects that we usually talk about the visually impaired, but there's also things about motor disabilities, that people that cannot move the finger well as we do, considering that none of you have these disabilities, and you have to think of inputs as well for those people. So there are different aspects that have to be thought of. And for mobile, a mobile interface that will be different from a desktop interface or web application.
Any other questions?
I have one. Did you think of using or investigating if they are aware of gender issues? Like today we have Gender Mag or even Age Mag for age issues. Are designers aware of this? Are developers also aware of these new methods? Do you know?
I don't know exactly what would be different in terms of gender for UI, you said?
Because they are methods for searching for gender issues in applications and software, so you can use them for mobile as well. And I was just wondering if people are starting to get aware of these new methods, both designers or developers.
No, I wouldn't know how to answer that. I'm not sure if I understood the question actually.
I
Oh,
think
I'm
that
sorry.
you remember yesterday for us, yesterday paper about inclusiveness magnifier. Anita can talk about much better than I, but just to let you know, because they have the gender mag with facets related to gender, but now we can thinking about facets related to other issues. Maybe accessibility would be one of this. Do you remember the paper about age, the age bias in use mobile and so on?
Yeah.
This would be a very interesting research to do.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't see anything. Maybe there is, since there's gender bias as being the male. I wouldn't be seeing the issues for female. I would be blind for that. So this is maybe an interesting topic to bring these things, because we wouldn't be sensitive for that, right? Because of the bias, right?
But the method is great. You should try.
Oh, cool.
Try to think about the different facets. Okay, everyone. So, any other question? No. So I think that we can finish.
So thank you all. Well, and thank you for your interest in let's.
Oh, please join me in thanking Kiev.
No. And just one more thing. It's because is it being recorded?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so I'm not gonna say anything. If you put off record, that I can tell you, I wouldn't